Meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy, your host. We are live and recording.
Good afternoon and welcome to our Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 special business meeting. If you'll all rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Mr. Ingalls, do we have certification of the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair. My office has reviewed both items on today's agenda, and they both meet legal approval.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Do any commissioners have any disclosures for items on the agenda today?
I have none, thank you.
No, sir.
And I have none. With that, we'll move to the consent agenda, which is item 2A, Colorado Parks and Wildlife Shooting Range Grant Application and expenditure of $100,000 in cost share match.
It is, Mr. Chair, it is a consent calendar item, and I assure you, I would love to talk about this off the consent calendar, but we do have another big issue, and I believe we're all in agreement. So move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
There's a first and second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. With that, we will move into our item 3, our regular agenda item for today. It is a resolution subdividing multiple precincts as a result of increased numbers of active eligible electors in existing precincts and newly created congressional and legislative district boundaries in accordance with section 15101.3 CRS and resolution R 17-111 and modifying existing precinct boundaries and establishing 42 new election precincts in accordance with section 15103.1 CRS. We have Cody Winslow presenting from staff. Perhaps it's Clerk Merlin Klotz, unless Cody's online.
I'm on. I'm not actually presenting.
Okay.
My team is presenting. Deputy Jack Twite is with us, and our team from the elections office.
Great. Hi, Jack.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you today on our proposed items to create 42 new precincts, as indicated by the resolution. This process began, of course, with the census, but for Douglas County, the process began in earnest last June, when we began working directly with our major political parties to identify where new boundaries would be created by our legislative redistricting commissions here in the state of Colorado. Commissions completed their work in November, approved by the state Supreme Court, and work got underway in November and December of this year. So with that, I would like to have Zach granted access to share a presentation, and we will break down the new precincts for you.
Hello, this is Troy, your host. Access is granted. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Zach. So as I mentioned, redistricting process completed by the independent redistricting commissions at the state used 2020 population data from the U.S. Census Bureau released in August of 2021. Boundaries were approved by the Supreme Court in November, first November 1st, and again on November 15th. Sorry about that. So other items we must take into consideration once these new boundaries are put together is we must adjust current precincts to align with the new legislative boundaries. And once approved, a precinct does not have to be redrawn again before the next decennial census unless its active voter count doubles. So we did take this into consideration, and I'll show you through our presentation. Precinct boundaries were aligned with official GIS shapefiles of the new legislative districts. We anonymized voter registration data in our work. When I say that, we did not, in any item in our consideration, look at political affiliation in any of these precincts, meaning we used active voter registered voters only and did not in any way, shape, or form consider political affiliation by precinct in our work. This was to guarantee full transparency and eliminate any opportunity or consideration for a gerrymandering or other concern. Did have to adjust some precincts to eliminate anomaly boundaries, so those will also be reflected in today's presentation. By law, we may not split a precinct by congressional House or Senate district boundary. Therefore, some precincts were split simply because a new legislative boundary went through them. We will also discuss pocket precincts. These are precincts containing 0 voters. We numbered them beginning at 999. What caused these were the new legislative lines created by, let's say, half a block to a block, 3 areas, specifically in the Pinery here in Douglas County, wherein no registered voters exist, but because of the new lines that were drawn, we were required to create a 0 voter precinct. We will detail those. So our symbology in the map. First, we'll identify where our existing boundaries are and where lines go, followed by a second map that details what's changed. Items in yellow were items that had to be adjusted because they exceeded our 2,000 voter threshold, intersected by new district lines, and green both intersected with new district lines, and the population was over 2,000. Gray areas are minor adjustments of existing lines without splitting the precinct. So first, we'll start with our area here at Sterling Ranch and Roxborough. Current precincts, as you can see, we had precinct 101 has seen a lot of growth in the last few years, over 3,000 voters, so we had to split that one, as well as 102 required splitting. And then precinct 105, while not over the 2,000 voter threshold, required us to split it because of new Colorado district. The result of these changes, 101 now has 553 approximate voters. Why 553? This is where we anticipate growth. So anywhere you see, commissioners, a precinct split and something in a lower range of total approximate active voters, we anticipate growth in working with the planning department, assessor's office, and others with maps, plans to understand where growth was so we can be prepared for it in our county. So 101 was split into multiple precincts. We now have the new numbers you'll see here on 19, 20, 21. Precinct 102 was also split, and precinct 105 was adjusted due to the new boundary. Next. We have more adjustments coming in the meadows. So while no new district lines occurred in the meadows here in the Castle Rock area, population growth has been significant, and therefore we had to make some splits. So, precinct 112 is now 3 precincts, 123 and 24 are included. And then we also, as you can see, took 114 and split it into 1. Highlands Ranch area, no precincts created new due to Colorado districts, but we did surpass the legal 2,000 voter threshold in a few areas here. Slide. Looks a little different. This is where we saw the most extreme growth. This is where the building's been happening. But we did plan for growth and used anywhere and kept things together, kept neighborhoods together in these splits. An item of significance here, we do have a community of interest in precinct 201. It did not require split due to population. It is close to the 2,000 voter threshold, but not there. Therefore, we were able to leave precinct 201 intact, and it will not have to be adjusted again until it reaches twice the size. Next, we'll swing down to Castle Pines. 2 areas here that were above our 2,000 voter threshold. And then precincts 264 and 269 also required adjustments due to So primarily one new precinct created, precinct 273, and all of the work was able to be done by adjusting precinct boundaries to clean things up. We did not have to create a lot of new precincts here, but we did make appropriate adjustments for population size. West side of Castle Rock, heavily impacted by new districts. 3 precincts required split due to new district boundaries. So although no existing 1,000 voters, we were required to make some splits. What we've done here is move things around just to right size items, some squirrely boundaries, as you can see on the south side of the map here between precincts 401 and 402. A great example of the redistricting commission's work in order to try to keep neighborhoods and other items for their consideration for the state intact. We had to adjust our lines accordingly. We'll go up north here, northeast Parker and Aurora. The precinct 305 seen quite a bit of growth in the last few years, so we had to do multiple splits there. And 305 and 306 were also impacted by new Colorado districts. What we've done here is we took 304 and added 363 to that one. 305 has been split into multiple precincts. Some of these, while really small in voter count, are either due to projected growth, or in this case, for 364 or 365 and 367, they were boxed in by new legislative line. So in these cases, for consideration on our side, we will be redacting voter tallies from these precincts in major reports in order to prevent anyone from violating voter anonymity. They are required by law to protect the voters' anonymity, meaning whether or not we vote is public record. Trying to figure out how to vote, it's not something we're permitted to do. We will still have all this information, but if someone were to ask which voters did or did not participate, we may, depending on the number of voters who participated in an election, may be required to redact that information. Also included in this specific item, we have precincts 995 and 996. 996, you'll see there is right at the bottom of precinct 364. This is a sliver of land that is non-residential, has no residents in it, but because the lines of the 2 legislative and congressional districts were not perfectly aligned when they were drawn, resulted in a sliver of land with no voters in it that we were required to assign a precinct.
Jack?
This is, yes.
Jack, excuse me. I am having a really hard time hearing you. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't know if you can aim towards a microphone or something.
I can speak louder.
That was better. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Sure. I will. I'll keep the water nearby. We got this. Thank you for letting me know.
You're welcome.
And so precinct 996 is a great example of when legislative and congressional district lines were first created by the commissions. We did provide the commissions with this information. We were thanked for our input, but because no voters were impacted, lines were not redrawn. We as a county do not have a legal way to require the commissions to align those 2 district lines to prevent a 0 voter precinct. So what we have chosen to do is use that 900 precinct number to identify any precincts with 0 voters. Now we'll go to Lone Tree and Northwest Parker. 2 precincts here, split by the new Colorado districts, precincts 301 and 351. Also, you'll notice a few there above the 2,000 voter threshold. So what we've done here is a number of new precincts that have popped up as a result. Once again, factoring in the smaller half of these precinct splits are intentionally set to account for growth. So as we anticipate new growth or new voters moving in, this is where the growth will happen. following, keeping neighborhoods, once again, neighborhoods together, and preventing pockets of precincts wherein neighborhoods would be split whenever possible. We travel now to Southeast Parker. No precincts impacted directly by new legislative lines, but we did have to split a few due to population growth. Here's our new lines, all following roads and/or parcel lines. Looks pretty clean for us. We were pretty proud of, I'm honestly pretty proud of the work my team did here throughout the entire project. But this was one where when we presented this section to the parties, we got smiles because both parties agreed that these lines in Southeast Parker were very clean and understandable for their constituents. Off to the Pinery. A lot of growth here and a lot of, I guess, fun, I could say, that the redistricting commissions had, as virtually every precinct was in some manner impacted by new legislative lines. So pretty colorful here. What we've done is accounted for growth once again, and in some areas got boxed in due to legislative lines. But this gets us really well set for the future. We'll come back to the Pinery here in a few minutes to discuss 3 areas of concern that we've had, and specifically 3 items we have submitted to the State Supreme Court for their consideration and adjustment. So moving to the canyons. The canyons we use as a very broad area. This includes some of the Castle Pines municipality and the new canyons development. So these precincts, primarily due to growth, we've got 2 splits as well as impacts by new Colorado districts, as they also accounted for growth. So precinct 371, this is what we would call a small pocket precinct, 57 voters. 57 voters in 371 because the new legislative lines boxed us in there. 338 is in a similar situation, although it has sufficient population, so we do not have a small pocket precinct. In this area, due to lines not perfectly aligning, you'll notice we have 3 pocket precincts with 0 voters in them. No planned growth in those areas either. 997, 998, and 999 reflected on the map have slivers of property that are non-residential. Have no. Terrain and Cobblestone Ranch, 2 areas here split by districts, as well as a lot of growth we're planning for and adjusting to. We've split 344 and added 374. We've done some similar with 354, as well as 508. And so this gets us adjusted to the new boundaries as well as planned for future growth. Crystal Valley, 501, while not needing to be split due to population, was split due to the new boundaries. 510, just a hair over our 2,000 voter limit due to the growth in the last couple of years. So we did have to split that one out into multiple precincts. So here are our new numbers. We do have a pocket precinct here as well, but proud to say that we somehow managed to maintain the face in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. This is a distinct item for Douglas County, and the fact that we're the only group we know of that has a face built into our maps. So for those who are map geeks, it's a fun one for us to call out for the public. A lot of people seem to enjoy that one. Okay. So this is an overview of everything we've just talked about, all of our new proposed precincts. A lot of new drawings, a lot of adjustments in here. This increases our total precincts by 42, bringing our county to 210 total precincts. Next, I'd like to talk briefly with the board about 3 areas of adjustment that we have requested through the state, all in the Pinery, sections A, B, and C here. So let's move to the next slide. So what we call Region A, What happened in this neighborhood, as you can see in the solid line, is the actual new boundary as approved by the Supreme Court. And the dashed line is what we have submitted as a proposal to clean up these lines. Anytime a district line passes through a residential parcel, we do have a legal ability to challenge the existence of that line and to request the state Supreme Court adjust them on our behalf. In this case, you can see a neighborhood is being split and parcels are being split. So if you're in your living room, you're in one district, and if you're in your bedroom, you're in another district. While the front of the house, the address does determine the district. In this case, people from the same neighborhood would find themselves in different, in this case, different Senate and House districts for these homes. So we have asked the Supreme Court to grant us the adjustment to move that line north there, to put all of those slopes back in the same neighborhood, Senate and House districts. Please. So here in Region B in the Pinery, same thing. We've got some splits here happening through residential parcels. So we have asked that neighborhoods be put back together, and the dashed line is the proposal we have submitted to the Supreme Court. One more. This is interesting. Your neighbor, you can have a conversation and find out that you are in the same congressional and Senate district, but you have two different House representatives. So we've asked to pull that full neighborhood into the same House district as well. Before I move to the next slide, a note to these adjustments that we have requested. These are now at the Secretary of State's office and are being compiled with 21 other counties that have similar issues in which residential parcels have been divided. All of these are being compiled and will be submitted through the Attorney General's office to be given to the state Supreme Court for their consideration. We have not been given a date. So we have added to the resolution language that would provide approval for these new precincts that include these adjustments that have been submitted to the state Supreme Court, should the Supreme Court approve them. Any questions for us?
Thank you so much for the presentation. You guys have done a phenomenal job. I'll open it up to the board for any questions.
So Jack, thank you for that and all the work you did. On those areas that you're communicating with the Attorney General and he will take 20, I think you said 20 some counties corrections to the Supreme Court, how will you just maintain it the way it is right now until the Supreme Court allows you to redraw those lines?
That is correct. We will leave all lines as they exist, and we are prepared to adjust those lines in our system upon the Supreme Court's approval.
Okay, and then when those are adjusted, if they are adjusted, then you have a process in place to reach out to all the parties to notify them?
Correct.
Okay.
We will, so upon approval, we're pretty sure the state Supreme Court will approve them, and we are prepared to provide new reports at no cost to the parties with any adjustments.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions?
Jack, I wonder if you can just take us through real quick again, our 6 pocket precincts, our ghost precincts that actually have nobody in them. There's like a common sense thing with me of, if nobody lives there, why can't you just draw them into another area? Can you take us back to on why we are obliged to create these pocket precincts, even though nobody actually lives in them?
Yes, sir. So the pocket precincts exist because the two commissions that created the new boundaries gave us lines that are not, they do not follow the exact same, say, street. They may be one block off from each other. Because we have no jurisdiction over those lines, when the state Supreme Court approved them in their final drafts, we then have to deal with what's left over. We are required to create them as precincts, and we're not permitted to adjust those lines. Our next shot at adjusting them is after the next census, when we work with the bipartisan commissions again to try to have those lines done. Several counties ran into these, and Douglas County is not unique, but we were, I wouldn't say at the mercy of, but we are not legally obligated to, or permitted, I should say, to adjust those lines to remove those pocket precincts.
Okay, thanks, Jack. I mean, kind of a bummer that we get some kind of a non-commonsensical kind of situation. But on the other hand, I got to say, I was a bit of a fan of the overall process with the independent commissions. I guess that's kind of what we get from an otherwise pretty good process. So, and then otherwise, I mean, I'll just say now, I know we're going to take public comment, but this is very complex process. I can recall being a part of these in the past, and by golly, I liked your methodology. It makes it look easy. So, well done.
Thank you, sir.
So, Jack, I don't really have any questions. That was a wonderful presentation. I might have a comment or two, and it's primarily one of gratitude to Merlin Klotz, your recorder, to Cody, yourself, and your entire team, not only for doing this great and complex work, but for engaging in the conversation early. I'm not sure about your counterparts in other counties, but no doubt this is another example of you all being far ahead of schedule and getting this done in a timely manner. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Any additional questions or comments for staff? Okay, with that, let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room for this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to online. Troy, do we have anyone online that would like to comment?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. And with that, I will bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
I have a motion to approve a resolution subdividing multiple precincts as a result of increased numbers of active eligible electors in existing precincts and newly created congressional and legislative district boundaries in accordance with Section 1-5-101, paren 3, Colorado Revised Statutes, and Resolution R-017-111, and modifying existing precinct boundaries and establishing 42 new election precincts in accordance with Section 1-5-103, paren 1, Colorado Revised Statutes.
Good job, Clerk and Recorder Klotz, and I am happy to second.
I have a first and second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. Board, thank you for that. We've got 2 minutes before our water discussion upstairs. This meeting is adjourned.